So this is where we got to. We said that with the traditional value chain, we have the manufacturer who produce the goods and deliver to the wholesaler or distributor, who also stock the goods in large quantities and sell them in smaller bits, break bulk to the retailer. The retailer then sells in individual quantities to consumers. This is what we have as the traditional value chain. Now, with the emergence of e-commerce, by the way, what is another term for commerce? I think we explained that last week, did we? What's another term for commerce? Come on, Google it and let's go. We have a lot to do today. What's another term for commerce? Google it. Trading. How would you define trading? How would you define trading?
So trading is the activity of buying and selling.
It's buying and selling. And therefore, if we are saying e-commerce, it simply means electronic buying and selling. That's what e-commerce simply means. Electronic buying and selling. So the consumer buying directly from either the wholesaler or distributor. These days, even retailers are organizing e-commerce. So consumers are dealing with retailers without having to walk to the premises of the retailer. They deal with them electronically. But we want to compare the manufacturer relating with consumer. Now, using the traditional value chain, we can see some intermediaries. Now, you would agree with me that the wholesaler being an intermediary, retailer being an intermediary between the manufacturer and the retailer sort of increases the cost, the transaction cost of operations. So if we can take the retailer out and take the wholesaler out, the manufacturer can deal directly with the consumer at a lower transaction cost. Now, this was the initial idea of e-commerce. And a company that typically applied that idea was Dell Computers until 2007 when they changed their philosophy. At the time, people felt proud. People felt unique when their computers, their personal computers, their laptops had features that other people did not have. And so Dell's approach was to offer customers the opportunity to spec their own computers, personal computers. And so Dell was not sold in the shops. Consumers had to do directly with the manufacturer, Dell, through electronic commerce. So you go online and then you start building your own personal computer. They would ask you, what is the screen size that you want? The options are there, and then you tick like a questionnaire. Do you want a 14-inch screen size? Do you want a 21? Do you want a 42 or whatever? Then you choose it. What is the hard drive capacity you want? Then you select. What is the ROM capacity you want? Then you select. So as you select, you see your cost building up. You see your own cost building up. What is the screen resolution you want? How many pixels you want? You select and it keeps building up. How many USB ports you want? 2, 3, 4. You select. Yeah? Do you want HDMI connectivity? You select. And that was the time when Dell tried to afford customers the opportunity to, specify their own computers. Design their own computers. Because then people felt proud that, yes, I spec my own computers. My computers have unique features that are not common on the market. But today, if you go to the market, all the laptops, all the personal computers have basically the same features. Almost all of them. Today, every laptop that you buy has HDMI connectivity, has multiple USB ports, has a higher hard drive capacity and all that. So from 2007 forward or onwards, Dell decided to change their philosophy of no selling in the shop. Before before 2007, Dell had a slogan which says, Dell is not sold in the shops. Dell is not sold in the shops. Okay. Now, if a manufacturer is taking away the wholesaler, is taking away the retailer, and is dealing directly with the consumer, are there implications? And if yes, what are those implications? Do you think there will be implications? If you don't, raise up your hand. Anybody? Okay, Bismarck.
No, please, it will reduce the cost of the product.
It will reduce the cost of the product. What else? What else?
Please, the maximum number of production that they have been making will reduce since there wouldn't be any wholesaler to store the product for them.
Yes.
Sir,
Why would it reduce? Yes, go on.
They will save resources as do not be don't waste resources as do not produce in abundance expecting people to buy, but rather they'll rather produce for a particular number of people.
Okay. Okay. But again, there will be implications on learning.
I think on the manufacturer side, there's going to be a reduced turnover and also high cost of production.
Why?
High cost of production in the sense that if they had to produce the same quantity, the same resources, for example, machinery that is required to produce one, is the same that might be required to produce 1,000. So if they spend that time and resource to produce just one, it's going to work, it will be detrimental to the company as compared to when they produce in bulk to sell to wholesalers and improve or increase their turnover.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful contributions from you. Nana Yadu Amankwa.
Hello, sir. Please, they will lose economy of scale. Therefore, they will lose profit. There will not be increase in profit.
Why would they lose economy of scale?
The reason is that if they are producing more for wholesalers and then retailers, they will produce in large quantity. So as they produce more, the cost of production will reduce. Therefore, they will gain economy of scale. And now that they are producing for people who have just ordered for a specific specification, it means that they will not produce much. So in that sense, they will lose economy of scale and also a reduction in profit. They will not gain much in profit as compared to producing in large scale.
Okay. This one, do you still want to say something?
No, please. They will gain the global market, and also
yes, they will gain global market. This is why I don't agree with what is the name? I don't agree with the lady Nanaya Guamanka. Yes, they'll gain global market. You see, if you have wholesalers in Tamale, you have wholesalers in Accra, you have wholesalers in Hawkway, you have wholesalers in Koforidua. What are they going to do? They are going to sell to individual customers. But if you take these wholesalers out, those individual customers in Ho, Tamale, Hawkway, Koforidua, they will all contact you directly. So in terms of managing demand, if you don't take care, the manufacturer can't bear. You see? But before we go on into the lecture, Christian Safo, you want to say something? I can see. Christian Safo, your hand is up.
You go to the shop. If it's there, now.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, Christian.
Yes, Doc. So I wanted to say that in the manufacturing side, they are going to deal with directly to the customers. And so any information concerning the product, they will get it directly from the customers, which will help them in their production.
Okay. So they'll be able to come closer to the customers. And this way, they are quickly able to notice trends and incorporate them into their production process. Great. All right, so let's move on. So what are the implications of this new arrangement? Many companies cannot handle the many transactions of selling on one-to-one basis because there will be too many for you. Let me give you an example of what happened to Amazon. Yes, Amazon. I think in 2014 or 2013, I've forgotten the exact year, either 2013 or 2014, during Christmas. There was so much demand. People were just trading, like you go to Agbogloshi and you see people walking by buying Kokonte, Kelewele, Wele, and all that. People were on Amazon shopping. And then the volumes of people shopping, I don't know, caused something to happen. The system just crashed and reduced every item on Amazon to £1. £1. At the time, some of us were doing night shifts, so we got to know. And so the item that we've been craving for, item that costs like £2,000, you go on there and it's now £1. That's how you buy. So people shopped drastically. And you know, blacks, right? You call a friend to call a friend. Call a friend to call a friend. And so the people became more on Amazon. People were shocked. And Amazon runs 24/7. So even in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., if you click make an order, as soon as their system receives the order, somebody is there working. Somebody is going to pick your order. He's going to parcel it. They will call the courier service to come and pick it up. They don't wait for morning. It's 24/7. So those of us who place our order in the middle of the night when the crash happened, we received whatever we ordered for. But in the morning, Amazon had to come out and say they've had a major problem. And all those people who ordered from a particular time, they were not going to ship it because these items don't cost £1. For those who ordered earlier and the items have been shipped, it is no fault of yours. The items have already been shipped, so they can't record it. But is a problem. Amazon said they were not going to ship the item because it was through a technical fault. So you see what volumes can do to companies when they are dealing with e-commerce. Sometimes even volumes can cause the system to crash and it will not respond again. So many companies cannot handle the many transactions on selling on one-to-one basis. Most companies do not want to sift, most consumers, do not want to sift through hundreds of websites to purchase everyday needs. So as a consumer, everyday needs like maybe banana, like milk, like toothpaste, like condom. And I'll have to go search through the internet to find which online business will give me the best price for condoms. A lot of people don't have that time, you see. There's a new intermediaries. So because of these, new intermediaries are being formed on the internet. And these include portals, aggregators, e-retailers, and intermediaries. Okay. So the impact of e-commerce on operations management. E-business has an impact on operations management. In that, cost savings and price reductions derive from lower transactions. So this is one of the impact. Some of you said this when I asked you to make that contribution. There will also be reduction and elimination of the role of intermediaries and even retailers and service providers. That was reducing the cost. With e-commerce, you're also able to shorten the response time as well as the transaction time for ordering and delivery. It becomes quicker to deal with customers. We are able to gain a wider market presence. So you have a small location in somewhere Ablekuma, but you can deal with customers from Nigeria, you can deal with customers from Austria, you can deal with customers from Burkina Faso, customers from Tamale, customers from Norway. You see, you gain wider presence and increased visibility for companies. And then greater choice and more information for customers. Customers are able to know what is available on the market electronically, and that gives them the power to make informed decisions as to what to buy and what not to buy. There is also the element of improved service as a result of instant accessibility to the service, because you don't have to go through as a secondary person. You are directly in contact with the producer, the service provider, or the manufacturer. Collection and analysis of voluminous amounts of customer data and preferences. Now, if you are doing online business, e-commerce, you collect voluminous amount of data. And these days with business analytics, with machine learning and all that business intelligence, you are able to sift through that data to determine what customer preferences are. You will even be able to determine how often customers buy the product, how they need it, the frequency and all that. You'll be able to determine it. And so you can provide customers exactly what they want. It also offers a leveling playing field for small companies as well as big companies. Now, if we are to deal with the traditional value chain, the big company can have, take a big company like Ghana Commercial Bank. They can afford to be present everywhere in Ghana. In most capitals, they'll be present. But take a small savings and loans. They can afford to build facility or rent facility in every capital city of Ghana. But through e-commerce, they can have presence in every village, every city, every town. So e-commerce provides a leveling playing field for small companies to cope with competition. And then again, with e-commerce, you're able to gain global access to market, suppliers, and distribution channels. You can sell to customers in Bulgaria, you can sell to customers in Sierra Leone, you can sell to customers in Namibia. The same way you can buy from suppliers in Australia, suppliers in South Africa, suppliers in China. Okay. So that leads us to globalization. What is globalization? Google it and tell me what it is. What is globalization? Anybody with the results? What is globalization?
Sir, the process by which businesses or other organizations develop international influence or start operating on an international scale.
Start operating on an international scale. Now, operating on an international scale means that you have presence in more than one country. So Unilever is operating on an international scale. They have presence in Ghana, they have presence in Nigeria, they have presence in South Africa, they have presence in England, they have presence in America, a lot of countries. So once you go beyond your borders as a country and you start operating, you are going global. But going global, you may not be doing everything together. You may decide to buy from foreign suppliers. You may also decide to buy from suppliers locally, but sell to international customers. You see, so globalization can take the form of selling in foreign markets. It can also take the form of producing in foreign lands. And here we can cite the example of Nike. Nike is which company? Comes from which country?
Germany.
Germany, great. Where do they have their manufacturing plants? I know they have multiple plants.
It's mostly in Thailand.
China, Thailand also. Is it Thailand?
Let me check, but I know it's Thailand.
Okay. What about Apple?
United States.
United States. Where do they have their manufacturing plants?
China.
China. You see? Meanwhile, Apple has an interesting supply chain. The supply, they use a lot of parts. They use about 500 parts and components to produce the iPhone. And some of these suppliers are in America. Some are in Canada. Some are in Spain. Some are in Holland. Some are in China. Now, all these suppliers ship their various parts and components to Apple's facility in China. Then Apple assembles the parts there to make the iPhone. When they finish, the final product is then shipped to California. California is their home state. And from California, they will then ship their product to the parts of the world. So that is a typical global business. That is a typical global business. The same thing with Toyota. Toyota has a plant in South Africa. In Ghana, Toyota doesn't have a plant. We only have a dealership in Ghana. The company in Ghana sells their product. They don't manufacture here.
So we have one now.
Hello?
Yeah, we have a assembly plant now.
Oh, are they going to establish it, or they have already established it?
They have already established it.
Already established.
Where is it?
It's been commissioned.
No, it's on Tema side.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I had a president commission it the last time.
Yes, recently.
Just like that of VW. You know VW, is it VW?
Yes, VW as well.
VW also has a plant in Ghana manufacturing their cars. So you look at all that and you look at Kantanka, you say Kantanka is in trouble. But Kantanka is a great one. He can withstand the competition. Let's go with the Canadian philosophy. If a Canadian goes to the supermarket to buy a product, he'll make sure that that product is buying. There isn't any local manufacturer of the product in Canada whose product is on the shelves. But if there is any, he doesn't care how good the rest are. He'll patronize the one from Canada. But as for us, if you sit in Kantanka, you will die. So we don't even give thought to it. We all drive in the Toyotas, the Mercedes, and then the rest. Anyway, that's just by the way. It's all about affordability, isn't it? And personal preferences. So yes, going global can take any of these forms. Then, why do companies go global? Why would a company in Ghana decide that I want to operate in Sierra Leone? I want to operate in the Gambia, or I want to operate in South Africa? One, to take advantage of favorable costs. Now, one of the reasons why in the early 80s and 90s, a lot of European companies and American companies flooded the Chinese and Indian market to establish their plants. In fact, we call that concept offshoring. Offshoring, locating your plants in a different country to start production there. We call that offshoring. So they all offshore to China and India. In fact, there is a company I work for that in England called Rotork, R-O-T-O-R-K, Rotork. Now, Rotork manufactures what we call gearbox. The name sounds interesting. You think that will manufacture parts for cars, but this type of gearbox that the company manufactures is not for cars. These gearboxes are used for controlling fluids, the flow of fluids. So when you go to gas plants or you go to, say, Ghana Water Manufacturing Company, or you see the Ghana Water Manufacturing Company, Ghana Water Company, sorry, they are lights. You see this thing that looks like steering wheel that can be used to control the flow, turns this thing off or close the channel or the pipe. We call these gearboxes. That's what a company manufactures. Now, within the facility itself, no manufacturing takes place. All the parts and components are manufactured in India and China. They are not then shipped to the company in leads. And when the parts arrive on a huge shop floor, you see staff putting the parts together, assembling it. And then after assembling, they will spray it as if it was manufactured there. As if it was manufactured there. One time I asked them, why can't you manufacture these things here in England? And then they told me, oh, the cost in China and India is much, much more better. And that's why I said, even in addition to the cost of transportation or shipping the parts from China to this place, they say, yes, far, 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 far better. The key thing is that they design the component. They design how it should look like. And then the design is sent to the manufacturer in China and India, and they will produce it. After producing, they ship to Europe, and then the company assembles it together. So yes, companies will go global because they want to take advantage of favorable costs. Again, companies will want to go global because they want to have access to international markets. Yeah? You want to increase the market for your products. So you want to go global so you can have more customers for your product. Again, they may be more responsive to changes in demand. When you go global, you are closer to your customers. And so you can have direct feedback from your customers, which enables you to respond appropriately to these changes in customer demand. You also be able to build reliable sources of supply. You can deal with suppliers all across the globe. So you are able to select suppliers from any part of the world that will give you a competitive advantage. And again, going global keeps the company abreast of the latest trends and technologies. Okay. Facilitators of globalization. Usually when trade barriers are broken, it facilitates globalization. A lot of countries have their own barriers restricting other countries from coming in there because of one or two reasons. So WTO, World Trade Organization, has opened up the heavily protected industry of agriculture, textiles, and telecommunications. In time past, Europe was put a strong barrier against Africans shipping vegetables there, but along the line, they took that barrier off, and Africans, Ghana, not even every African country do. Ghana, for example, can ship vegetables to the EU. Another facilitator is the internet. The internet enables you, even though you are in Ghana, the internet enables you to operate in any country within the world. Now, companies these days are more interested in accessing new customers, new technologies and skills, rather than capitalizing on cheap labor. Now, cheap labor does not mean inferior labor. Please take notes. Cheap labor does not mean inferior labor. Perhaps I need to give you an example that will open up your understanding. Now, why did companies in the early 80s from the EU move to set up their plants in China and the Asia region? It was fundamentally because of cost, and that cost related to cheap labor. Somebody in America would work for 1 hour and take like 14 pounds. That same competency, that same skill set can be gotten from India when it comes to IT. That same company, that same competence will be gotten from somebody in India. And that Indian person, even that 14 pounds or $14 will pay that, that person for a whole day's work. So then what is the point in operating in America? You see? And that is why for a lot of companies, India has a very good capacity in IT. So a lot of companies have sent their call centers there. I think those of you banking with stand charts, you realize that when you have issues and you call, sometimes it goes to the call center in in India, and this Indian person will speak the Indian English. Has anybody experienced that?
Not me.
Not you. It may not be Stanchart, it may be other company, other banks as well. Okay, since nobody has had that experience. So the point I'm trying to drive at is that if somebody in Ghana can do the work and you have to pay that person higher, and that same skill set can be gotten from another country and it's far cheaper, why not? You see? So look at a lecturer teaching in University of Ghana. How much is the person paid? You people think I'm going to tell you my salary. I won't. But when that same person goes to Europe and America, even though the cost of living there may be higher, but the person takes higher amounts, far more than he takes here. So how the labor here is cheap, and cheap doesn't mean inferior. That's the point I'm trying to make. Cheap doesn't mean inferior. All right, we now move on to productivity and competitiveness. Bismarck, Ewache.
Yes, Doc. Doc, please, with the cheap labor, can we attribute it to cheating one way or the other? Because there have been instances in Ghana whereby foreigners come to the country and they take that advantage of cheap labor and they try to pay people under what they are supposed to pay them.
Okay, no, cheap labor does not necessarily mean cheating. If the company is cheating, it's just that the company is not being fair. But cheap labor is just the fact that that work that person is doing, that same work can be done in other countries and you have to pay that person higher. Okay?
Thank you,
if per our laws, per our regulation, what is the minimum wage in Ghana now? What's the minimum wage in Ghana now?
Doc, please, I'll very.
I think 14 cities or so, 14.
Check on the internet and tell me now. Check on the internet and tell me now.
12 cities, 53 pesos.
12 cities, 53 pesos per what? Per day, per hour, per week, or per what?
Per day, doctor.
It's a daily wage, so per day, yes.
That's the daily wage. 12 cities. And 12 cities is equivalent to roughly $2. Roughly £2. Meanwhile, in UK, for example, there are jobs that you get paid like £14 an hour. So if such a job, you have the same competency in Ghana, and somebody can do this work for even, let's say, 20 cedis an hour, not even for the whole day. Doesn't it make sense for you to come and operate in Ghana, as long as the tax regime and everything is standard and it doesn't affect you that much? It makes economic sense, you see. Okay, let's move on. So a global marketplace for goods and services means more customers and more intense competition. we are all going global, there will be more intense competition. Ghanaian manufacturers are constantly complaining. People are bringing cheap goods from China, and that competition is high, for which reason they are unable to sell their own products. Going global will obviously increase the intensity of competition, which firms should be aware of. Thus, competitiveness is the degree to which a nation can produce goods and services that meet the test of international markets. Now, the most common measure of competitiveness is the term productivity, which we saw last week. We are going to go into productivity again. So we didn't see. Okay. So what is productivity? Productivity is measured by dividing your output by your inputs. And generally, there are three types of productivity measurements. We have what we call the single factor productivity, we have the multi-factor productivity, and then we have the total factor productivity. A single factor productivity will take one input resource against the total output. So assessing the productivity of only one factor of production, that is what we refer to as single factor productivity. What about multiple factor? When we take more than one, we assess productivity of more than one factor of production. So if, say, there are 4 factors of production we are using in our production process, we are using energy, we are using capital, we are using labor, we are using, labor, let's say 3. And then we decide to measure the productivity of energy and labor with capital left out. That will be classified as multi-factor productivity. What about total factor productivity? When we measure the productivity of all our inputs, so assessing the productivity using all the factors of production. If we were to be in class face-to-face, would have solved or discussed problem 1.4 on page 26. But I've worked out an example here for you. So all these are single factor productivity. Output divided by labor, output divided by materials, output divided by capital. If we do this, we classify it as a single factor productivity. Now we can also measure the productivity of multiple factors of production. So in this case, example, we are taking labor, materials plus overhead. And then we use that to divide our output. That is a multi-factor productivity. Again, we can look at labor, energy, and capital put together as input and use that to divide our numerator, which is the total output of the production process. That will also constitute a multi-factor productivity. Total factor productivity, we use all the input resources. So in this, our example would have used labor, materials, overhead, capital, and energy. All five. Labor, materials, overhead, capital, and energy. And then we use that to divide our output to get all the inputs. And that gives us our total factor productivity. At this point, any question? At this point, any question? No question. Okay, please note the formulae down. Write the formulae down. You are going to work this for me now. Yeah?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let's move on. Here we go. Osborne Industries is compiling the map. Yes?
They are still writing the formula.
Oh, let's say we're simple. If it's labor, it's output, total output divided by labor. If it's materials, it's total output divided by materials. If it's capital, it's total output divided by capital. Okay? All right. I guess you are done now. Let's move on. So here we go. Calculate the labor. So Osborne Industries is compiling the monthly productivity report for its board of directors. From the following data, calculate a labor productivity, B, machine productivity, and C, the multi-factor productivity of dollars spent on labor, machine, materials, and energy. The average labor hour rate is 15 hours. Now, there's something I didn't explain to you from the previous slide. Here, with a multi-factor, where you are combining all inputs, if one input is in hours and another is in cedis, you cannot combine input of hours with input of cedis. They all have to be in the same denomination. So if it can be changed to hours, you change all of them to hours. If it can be changed to cedis, you change all of them to cedis before you can use it to divide your total output. But you don't say 14 hours plus 20 cedis. I don't know what the results you are going to get. And that's why in this example, the C says that calculate the multi-factor productivity of dollars spent on labor, machine, materials, and energy. And it's telling you that the average labor rate is $15 an hour, and the average machine usage rate is $10 an hour. So that tells you what you need to do to be able to calculate the C. Great. Now let's work it out. Who has finished? What is your output here?
100,000.
100,000, excellent.
The labor is 10.
Labor is 10. 10 what? You can't just say 10. 10 what?
Of 10,000.
Sorry?
10,000.
$10.
No.
$10.
Somebody said labor is 10. I'm asking that person 10 what?
10 units per hour.
10 units per hour, which means that for every hour that the company spends in each production process, for every hour that the company spends, they are able to produce 10 units. So labor is 10. What about the B, machine productivity?
20, sir.
20 units
Per hour.
20 units per hour. Now, what about the multi-factor? So multi-factor, you are going to, they said you should multi-factor of labor, machine, materials, and energy. In fact, the question should have even said total factor, but anyway, it's still the same, it's still multiple. Has anybody done it?
So you're on it.
Oh, quick. Which ones do you need to convert?
Labor and machine.
labor and machine.
You are converting them to what?
Dollars.
Yes, to dollars.
$dollars. Excellent. Now I know you have the idea, so work it out for me. The first one, the A you said is 10. That's the A. And the B you said is 20. And then the C Are we done? Are we done?
Almost.
Leonie, I'm waiting for your response.
Minutes.
Now,
Hi. So I got 0.4. I'm not sure if that is right. And I'm not sure how to convert that into.
Yes, so I also asking, but I'm sure it will be
So I feel like I did something wrong.
$4 or either $4 or 400 or something.
oh, you had 0.4.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right or wrong?
It will be 4, I'm sure.
You hang on. We'll come to the response. Any
Okay.
different answer?
Sir, please, I'm almost done, but can you go up to the formula? I'm left with the LM plus O. I've forgotten what the O stands for.
Oh, this is the formula.
Overhead. Okay, go ahead.
So you put all of them together, but I said that they have to be in the same denomination.
Yes.
Or currency. Any different answer?
Uh, 0.425.
0.425 what? 0.524 what?
Just a minute, let me read the question.
Dog, units per dollar.
Units per dollar, not per $10. Erasmus, I can see you type 0.4 dollar. Okay, you said or. Okay.
Sir,
and then,
sir, please, the overhead. I'm not getting overhead.
Which overhead?
For the last one, the C, the multifactor productivity.
No, the overhead will be one of the, in a typical question, the overhead will be one of the inputs. So in this question, there is nothing on overheads.
Okay.
Are you clear now?
Okay.
So the input resources are what you've been given here: labor hours, machine hours, cost of materials, cost of energy. These are the input materials. As you can see, for us to do the C, you can see that the cost of materials is in dollars. The cost of energy is in dollars. Machine hours. Machine is in hours, labor is in hours. And that is why, that is the essence of the question giving us the rates for the hours and then the machine. It says that on the average, a labor hour is paid as $15. And then machine usage rate is also $10 per hour. So if you want to convert the machine hours to dollars, you simply multiply the 5,000 by the 10, which will give you what? 50,000, and then $50,000. And then we also need to convert the labor hours into dollars. So we multiply the 10,000 hours by the $15 per hour. And then you also get the rate. So this is the solution. So yes, labor productivity, all those of you who got 10 units per hour, you are correct. It's output divided by labor hours. Our output there is 100,000 units. Our labor hours is 10,000 units. So 100,000 divided by 10,000, obviously is 10 units per hour. Then we come to machine productivity. It's output, total output divided by the machine hours. from the data, our machine hours is 5,000. Our labor hours, sorry, our total output is 100,000. We do the division and we have 20 units per hour, which means the machine is producing 20 units every hour. What about the multi-factor productivity? Is labor cost plus machine cost plus material cost plus energy cost. Now, labor is paid as $15. So we multiply 100,000, like I said earlier, 10,000 units of labor hours by $15, plus the machine hours, which is 5,000 by the rate, which is 10. And then we add it to the cost for energy and then material costs. In total, we have 250,000 dividing 100,000, which gives us 0.4 units per dollar spent. So every dollar we spend in the organization, we are producing 0.4 units of whatever output we are producing. Atiemu, your hand is up.
Please, does it mean that when the output have been stated in a dollar unit, the dollar currency, and we want to calculate for labor productivity, it means that we are going to multiply the number of the amount spent times the labor hour?
You are going to multiply what and what?
Please, if you can go back the equation.
Okay, let me go back to the rate. This one, you mean?
Yes, this one. So the labor hour rate is $15. So, and I am asking, suppose the unit produced is stated, the output, which is the 100,000, is stated in the dollar currency. Does that mean that we multiply the 15 by the 10,000 and then divide it by the 100,000?
If it's stated, if this is not in units, but in dollar or cedis, yes, what it simply means is that for every 1 hour that we spend in the company, we are making this amount of money. Do you understand it, Atiemu?
Yes, sir. What I mean is when we were calculating for the labor productivity.
No, listen.
Okay.
Let's take your time. You asked me whether the 100,000, if it's in dollars, it means that we still have to convert. In calculating the labor hours for A, we need to convert the hours for hours into dollars. And I'm saying that no. Okay. We just want to know every hour that we spent in the company, if this 100,000 is in cedis or dollars, and we are giving you labor hours, and we say calculate the labor productivity. We just want to know how much money we make every hour we spend in the company.
Okay.
Okay. In this example, we are not interested in the money, but we are interested in how many units of output we are able to make every hour we spend in the company. Is your question answered?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question, class?
Yes, sir. Please, me.
Please go ahead.
I'm not getting the last multi-factor this thing formula.
Productivity.
Yes, because it's like you added the labor hours plus machine plus cost and cost of energy. The 4.
Yes.
And I was doing.
Why? What is the confusion?
The formula I wrote, I used the overhead one.
Okay. Let me clarify the formula. Now, the formula here doesn't mean that at all times it has to be labor plus materials plus overhead. No. I can tell you that calculate the multi-factor productivity of labor and materials only.
Okay.
The emphasis on the multi-factor is the fact that you are looking at the productivity of more than a single factor of production.
Okay.
So the formula here shouldn't confuse you, because we have 3 items here. You must also always have 3 items. In fact, some cases you can have 5 items or 6 items. As long as they are all inputs to the production process. Is your question answered?
Yes.
Yeah. And if we go to the question, C, can you see my cursor?
Yes, please.
The C says that the multi-factor productivity of dollars spent on, and the question clearly specifies labor, machine, materials, and energy. If you come to the table, labor, machines, materials, and energy. So eventually the question is saying that do total factor productivity. And because two of the items are in dollars, we need to convert the other two items which are in hours also to dollars, because we can't combine 10,000 hours. You can't say 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 35,000 plus 15,000. It doesn't make sense because these are in dollars, these are in hours. And that is the reason why the dollar rate has been given and the machine rate has multiply the hours spent on machine, and then use the labor rate to multiply the number of labor hours we have. Are you clear now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, look at this, the total factor productivity. And tell me, at what instance can we say that productivity is going up? If we do the measurement again, at another time, another point in time, and this time round, we have 1 unit per dollar spent. Oh, okay. I have some intelligent students raising up their hands. Atiamo, your hand is up. Hello.
Sorry, it's the old hand.
Bismarck, your hand is up.
Doc, please, when the inputs are reducing, the output will be increasing.
Okay. No, in this example, I want you to refer to the quotient and tell me something. And that was the explanation I was trying to give. That if now we've done the measurement, and the results is that currently in the company, we are spending, for every dollar we spend, we are able to produce 0.4 units of the product. Now, if we measure at another time and we get like 1 unit per dollar spent, then it means productivity is increasing or has increased. Okay? The same thing with labor. Yeah? If at another point in time, we measure and now we get like 15 units per hour, that means we are doing better. So for every hour, instead of producing 10 units, we are producing 15 units. So we are doing better. Like I did explain to you the last time. All production managers want to do is to improve this ratio. So whatever they will do to improve this ratio, that's what they need to work on. Okay. So productivity and competitiveness. Productivity increases results from a lower denominator. And for a country to have this capacity, it should have a wide technological infrastructure and widespread mobile internet usage. Gradually, internet penetration in Ghana is drastically improving, so we are getting there. Competitiveness can also be viewed from an industry or firm perspective. And competition within industries is more intense when A, firms are relatively equal in size. Can anybody tell me why competition will be intense when firms are relatively equal in size? If I'm an inquiry.
Yes, please.
Can you tell me why? Okay, somebody has come to say.
So I think that.
Do you still want to go? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, please allow the other person. Thank you.
Adam.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
All right. So I think bigger firms enjoy economies of scale, while smaller firms don't enjoy that. So if they are both equal in size, then the competitive advantage of one having a bigger size is depleted. Hence, their competition becomes a lot more intense because they can match each other two for two.
Yes. They are equal in size. What you can do, I can do. And therefore, the competition becomes great. But if it's between a small firm and a big firm, competition is not intense because a bigger firm can do things to favor itself that the smaller firm cannot come close. You see? So where firms are smaller or they are equal in size, competition becomes very, very intense. Now, two, competition is also intense in industries where resources, products, and services are standardized. Like pure water production. Standardized production process. No uniqueness. And that's why they all sell their water around the same price. So competition is king. And that's why you always see them with their own trucks distributing their special water. You see. And it's also intense in industry. Industry growth is either slow or exponential. So in an environment like that, where industry growth is slow, the industry is not expanding quickly. So which means that there are few controlled customers. Everybody will be fighting for this limited number of customers. So that tells you that competition will be great. Productivity and competitiveness. Evidence of competition within industries include price wars. Now, how do we see that competition is keen, is intense in a particular industry? Price wars. What is price wars? What is price wars? If you don't know, Google it. Google it and tell me, what does it mean? Okay, Leonie, Kelly.
I want to try. When companies constantly change their price, either bringing them down to outsmart their other competitors.
Yes. So this one changes the price. The next time, the other one also comes with a price variation. Price wars. When there is relentless advertising, you can hear all of them on the radio stations. Like the one between Vodafone and MTN. Even though MTN seems to have a larger market share, you can see the competition between Vodafone and MTN is quite keen. Always advertising. Then frequency of introduction of new products, where competition is keen. You see that companies would want to outweight their competitors by being innovative and constantly introducing something new so they can lead the market. Where there are free trials. Come and go and use it. If it's okay for you, pay for it. Free trials. Where they offer purchasing incentives and all that. These are evidence that competition is keen within a particular industry. It is very important to effectively manage operations so that a firm can be competitive. Because like we said last week, if you're not competitive, at the end of the day, you can't be in business. Competition will throw you out of the business. So it's important that you remain competitive. What is the differences between manufacturing and service organizations? We all know.
I have a question, please.
You have a question?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Can you please go back to the previous slide?
This one?
Yes, please. So I was just wondering, in an attempt to be competitive, if you are spending so much on maybe advertising, you keep reducing your price so that your prices are lower than other companies, you keep doing free trials and everything. I'm just wondering, doesn't it come at a cost to the company? But sometimes in an attempt to be very competitive, you end up spending so much money, and then doesn't it go against you, as a business?
Oh, they do that within their profit margins. They wouldn't do that at their own peril. No company will do that. So the money they are making, they want to spend some to engage in competition. So yes, if they can bring their prices down and still make some profit on it. Remember, we said last week that the sum of the inputs should be less than the total value of the output. So the output value should be greater than the sum of the inputs. So even though they'll keep reducing their prices, it will still afford them some level of profitability. So
yes,
question answered?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move on. So what's the difference between organization, service and manufacturing organizations? University of Ghana obviously is a service organization. A company like Ejapia, is it Ejapia? No, Ejapia is a product. What's the name of the company? I know that the ladies will not know this. The men.
Casapreco.
Is it Casapreco which produces Ejapia?
No.
Which company produces Ejapia? Hey.
It's the same Ejapia now. The same Ejapia.
The same Ejapia, eh?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Hey, my brother, how did you know?
Google. It's Google.
My brother, how did you know? I'm not impugning anything. Okay. So, okay, let's come to something that most of you will know. Alomo bitters is produced by Casapreco. Meboa, true or false?
True.
Okay. So a Casapreco is typically a manufacturing organization. Now, what is the difference in terms of operation between Casapreco and a typical service organization like University of Ghana or like MTN or like VIP transport company, VIP, which is also typically a service organization? What's the difference between them? So the differences involve the following: degree of customer contact. For manufacturers, manufacturing can take place far away from the customer. In fact, at Yemu, you see the shirt you are wearing. If somebody asks you which company produced that shirt, you might not even know.
Yes, sir. I did not even check it, but I'm sure it's from outside the country.
Maybe it was produced far away in a village in China.
Yes, or maybe.
Yeah, the manufacturer doesn't need to come close to you to produce. But when it comes to service,
yeah,
you need to be close. You can't have a haircut online. I don't know if anybody has had a haircut online. And it's a service. You need to go in there to receive that service. So the degree of, okay, is somebody telling me that?
Virtual.
Oh, okay, now virtual haircut. Yes. So degree of customer contact is high with service organizations than with manufacturing organizations. Then uniformity of inputs. Who can explain this? Uniformity of inputs. Aizatam. Okay, now
yes,
your hand is up. Now go.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, now has raised her hand. Now go, please.
I'm not very sure, but for the uniformity of inputs, it sounds to me like for manufacturing, the inputs would be the same in the same measure. If I'm producing 10 bottles of Casapreco, the ingredients will be the same. So we need maybe
Okay, I think now you have an,
but for services, it's probably tailored to the individual specific needs.
Okay, now you have an idea. Now you have an idea. So what it means is that with manufacturing, uniformity of inputs. For manufacturing, if we are producing 20 cartons of Casapreco Alomo bitters, we'll use the same inputs. So inputs are relatively uniform when it comes to manufacturing, but when it comes to when it comes to the service, inputs may vary. Just imagine a hairdresser trying to style two people's hair. You can't say that because I put this level of cream in customer A's hair, I need to put the same level of cream into customer B's hair. Maybe customer A's hair is heavy, plenty, so you need a lot of cream. But with customer B, the hair is scanty, so you don't need a lot of cream. So that uniformity varies usually with service. See? Even with the teaching, if I have two people and I'm teaching, one person, I can spend 1 hour, the person will understand everything. Another person, I may spend about 3 hours and the person will still not get what I'm teaching. So that variation is there with service in terms of input. The labor content of the job. Labor content of the job. Which one will be high? Which one will be high? Labor content, which one will be high, class?
Sounds like the service would need more labor than manufacturing.
Service activities are largely labor. I'm saying largely labor oriented than manufacturing. Manufacturing are largely equipment oriented. So services tend to depend more on labor than manufacturing. Labor expertise, labor experience than manufacturing. Then uniformity of output, similar to the explanation we've given for uniformity of inputs. Okay. Let's Toyota produce 10 Toyota RAV4 vehicles. You might not see any difference in those 10 cars. Let a hairdresser use the same Brazilian hair to plait 10 people's hair, and you can see differences in the output. Okay. Measurement of productivity. It's easier to measure productivity in manufacturing than in service because of the complexities in service delivery. And then production and delivery. For manufacturing, production can take place far away, anywhere, and will be delivered later on to where the customer wants it. For services, production and delivery are usually concurrent and they take place at the same time, close to the customer. Okay, so these are the differences between goods. Leonie.
Yes, sir. I beg to differ to an extent.
Go ahead.
The presence of the internet and the electronic devices we have, I think that there are some services that can be delivered far away from the customer, like what we are having now. I believe this is a service delivery, and I don't have to be in school to get this lecture, but I'm still here. So I think that it depends on the examples we give when it comes to the service delivery. I don't know if.
Yes, but that is why I keep using the word largely. Largely. Apart from this few, a lot of services, even with this, production and delivery is taking place at the same time. Yes, you are with me. You are not, you are with, we can assume that we are in class now, even though you are far away, but you are with me personally. And production, as a customer, you have to, if you are not here, can I produce?
So you can produce, but the class is being recorded. I can as well watch later.
So those are few exceptions. But even with this example of we being in class at a distance, production and delivery is taking place at the same time in the presence of the customer. In the presence of the customer. Of course, like you said, there could be exceptions where I can lecture, record it, and then send it to you, and then you will access it at a later time. But those are a few exceptions. For a large majority of services, the customer needs to be present in order for the production to take place. What about amount of inventory? Amount of inventory required in manufacturing is usually higher as compared to service. Yeah? What about quality assurance? Which one is easier to do? Leonie, which one is easier to do? Quality.
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing is easier to control. It's easier to control. It's easier to build quality in manufacturing than service. Take two people for training. Let them come and do the same way. You'll still see difference. You still see difference. So, yes, let's move on. Okay, so we'll move on to operation strategy. What is strategy? What is strategy? Anybody with an idea? What is strategy? Who had, okay, Google it. Since nobody wants to talk, Google it and tell me the meaning of strategy. What's the meaning of strategy? Some of you have decided, okay. Bismarck, your hand is up.
Please, I would like to try. Like a plan, that will lead to achieving a goal.
A plan that will lead to achieving a goal. So businesses will have a goal. And how to achieve that goal, they need a strategy. And look, we the men, we see ladies that we are interested in. And the moment we get to that point, we devise strategies. we devise strategies. I don't know whether some of you can share your experiences with us. Let me see which one do we have here. Sadiq, have you had an experience? Adam, have you had an experience? Classes, so you are all pastors and also of my mates in this class. But you see, we have interesting strategies. What is the goal? The goal that will win your heart. The goal is that we will win your heart and you become part of us, and we see you as we will see you as our girlfriend. So what do? One strategy: constantly talk to you, engage you on phone calls, pick you out. Another strategy is for us to dump money on you, push it, and you eventually get the meaning of that. Another strategy is for us to become a prayer partner. They'll become your prayer partner through prayers. I'll tell you that the Lord has laid something on my heart to tell you. Who are you not to listen to the Lord? I don't know whether the ladies, you also have strategy when you see a man that is of interest to you. Priscilla Minster, does it happen to ladies too? Do you also have strategy?
Yes, Doc, we do. We dress well. Yes.
Oh, okay, you dress well.
Especially if you know some colors. Yes. If you know the colors the man probably likes, you try to wear those ones often. You up your game when it comes to your perfumery. You use nice scented perfumes and all that. You ask him how are you every day when you see him.
Thank you very much for that insight. Priscilla, I've learned something this afternoon. You see, the men don't want to talk. Shame on all of you men on this platform. Anyway.
We'll come back. So our strategies are not good, so we don't want to share them.
Your strategies are not
good. We don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Our strategies are coded.
Now let me tell you a small story in relation to strategy and see what. And usually when anybody doing management strategic management will come across the story. Two people went into the forest. So it could be Sadiq Ahmed and Priscilla Mensah. They went into the forest to pray. Now in the middle of the forest, they saw a hungry lion coming. Logically, when people see lion approaching, what would they do?
They run.
They will run. But what is the objective? What is the goal of the running?
To escape.
To escape or to survive. To escape or to survive. So Priscilla and Sadiq Ahmed started running. They kept running. They ran for about 1 hour. It got to a point Priscilla was tired. And then Priscilla called out to Sadiq and said to Sadiq that, Sadiq, there is no way we are going to outrun this lion. Let's hold our hands, pray, and let's see what the lion will do. And then Sadiq said to Priscilla in a gentle voice that from the very beginning when we started running, I knew that we cannot outrun the lion. My whole objective has been to outrun you, Priscilla Mensah. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Strategy. So this is a good guy. I like it.
And that strategy in relation to competition. You want to outrun your competitor. You see. So Sadiq knows that if he's able to outrun Priscilla, the lion will get to Priscilla first, consume Priscilla. And maybe after consuming Priscilla, it will be full and it will no longer be interested in Sadiq. And that will be the end of the chase. You see? It will also offer Sadiq the chance, when the lion gets to Priscilla, it will offer Sadiq the chance to maybe possibly climb a tree or look for a place to hide. Sadiq says he's a gentleman. I know you are a gentleman. This is just for learning purposes. Don't get angry. So let's move on. Let's see what operations strategy means. Now, to understand strategy, we need to distinguish between what we call ends and what we call means. A strategy clearly defines what to do, what we want to achieve at the end of the day, which is the ends or the goals, and how to get it done, which is the means, the way to get what we want to achieve achieved. That is the means. So an example is Zara of Spain. When you talk about fashion, Zara has one of the best, the highest speed supply chain in the world. In the fashion industry, from conception of the idea, product idea, the design of the product, to manufacture of the product, to taking it to the market, for a lot of designers, it takes them 3 months, minimum 3 months to do this. For Zara of Spain, it is able to do this within 3 weeks. So it has a very good strategy. Zara has a beautiful strategy. Whenever you have the time, read on Zara's supply chain and how it works. So a strategy is therefore a plan to reach a particular goal. Now, the goal of a firm strategy is to maximize the net present value, which is the NPV of the organization. Remember that it is good to know what managers can all, it is good to know that managers can all be given one simple instruction: maximize the net present value for the company. That's what managers do. You are there, you are a manager. Some of you are managers. Whatever the company is asking you to do is geared towards maximizing the net present value for the firm. The firm wants to be in the best position through your function, your role in the company. So this means, the means of achieving the maximum NPV is specified by the corporate strategy. And defining the industry, those with defining the industries in which the organization will be active in, and also configuring business units for each industry, because each industry requires some different configuration of business units. So you'll be able to achieve your maximum NPV. Now, the corporate strategy involves choosing a mix of industries to participate in and allocating resources to each to maximize the value of the entire organization. To cut a long story short, strategy enables organizations, particularly corporate strategy, enables organizations to maintain their position on the market through maximization of their NPV. So Toyota was founded in 1926 to manufacture and sell their automatic looms. Now Toyota is into automobiles, vehicles, engines, car, air conditioning. You know this car called Vibe, V-I-B. If you buy a Vibe, you have bought a Toyota engine. Toyota is also into materials handling equipment. They provide logistics solutions. They provide certain electronics and textile machinery as well. You see, and that tells you that yes, companies will choose different industries to operate in. If you look at Despite group of companies, they are into media, they are into manufacturing, they are into what again?
Service.
Oh, you don't know?
Service, dog.
They are into services. Yeah,
yes, savings and loans.
Yeah, they're into savings and loans as well. So you see, they've selected some industries of interest, and they have reconfigured their resources to operate in those industries. Pick Tobinco group of Tobinco. Tobinco is into pharmaceuticals production. Tobinco is into, are you aware Tobinco is into education as well?
No.
No,
oh,
sir.
Tobinco has a private, has a private university.
Yeah. Which one? Yeah, it's a pharmaceutical. It's a private university at
somewhere on the Spinters Road. I don't know whether they have gotten their accreditation yet, but I know Tobinco has a private university that has been set up. Again, Tobinco is into the banking industry as well. What's the name of his bank?
Abbey National.
Abbey National. So he has also chosen certain industry to operate in. And that's how all the companies work, how they all work. Let me see, somebody, few comments in the chat room. Okay, Atinka, yes. Tobinco is also into the media space. They have the Atinka Media Village as well. Thank you, Theophilus. Thank you. Great, let's move on. So competitive strategy uses two means to create sustainable value. First, according to Porter's 5 forces, we choose an attractive industry. And then choosing an attractive industry, what do we look at? We look at these 5 things. And these 5 forces, according to Michael Porter, these are the 5 forces that determine the intensity of competition in an industry. So you look at the bargaining power of suppliers, you look at the bargaining power of buyers. How strong are buyers? To what extent can buyers come together to say that we are not buying the product? And you know, when buyers come together like that, it has strength and they can collapse an industry. To what extent can suppliers come together to say that we are influencing production? And if you look at the oil industry, the oil producers, they do this a lot. They can say that they are restricting production by about 200,000 barrels. And you see oil prices shooting up. See, another factor is the threat of new entrants. So to what extent how easy it is for other people, other companies to enter the industry. Remember, if the industry is so easy to enter, people will jump in. When the profit is high, people will jump in, and in no time, they will wipe away the profit and the industry will collapse. You remember when this com center business came? Everybody was setting up a com center. So if you're in a community with about 100 people, you set up a com center, in the next 2 weeks, other two or three people also establish the same com center. So you are now going to share the 100 people to about 20. And can 20 customers sustain your business? Obviously, no. So when the industry is so easy to enter in, people enter, they wipe out the profit, and everybody goes out of business. And that's why all the comm centers collapse, even though emergence of other technologies also played a role, you see. And then the threat of substitutes. Can the product from the industry, can it be easily substituted? If yes, competition will be low. If no, then competition is going to be high. It's going to be high. Then rivalry among existing firms is also a key factor that determines the intensity of competitive position within an industry will be based on customers' value proposition. So what are customers expecting to gain? So we need to understand that there are three different yet complementary views of operations. We have the resource view, we have the process view, and then we have the competencies of operations view. Now the resource view looks at or focuses on the asset use in the operation, which involves the tangibles and intangibles. The process view highlights the operations activities, and then the competencies view look at what operations can and cannot do. It's projected in the diagram that counts. So operation strategy, resource view, the competencies view, and then the process view, all of which put together will lead to maximizing the net present value, or lead to maximizing the net present value. So what will the operation strategy do? It focuses on enabling the execution of business strategy, on how to best deliver the value proposition. It focuses on developing assets and configuring processes. It is less about immediate specific issues and more about future and general issues. So how does the operation strategy relate to competitive strategy? The competitive strategy refers to the strategy as to how the business intends to compete on the market. Now, doing that, you would need the operation strategy to support your competitive strategy. So for example, a firm has chosen that I am going to compete on the market based on low cost. I want my products to be known on the market as the cheapest, not the inferior quality, but cheapest in terms of cost. If that is your competitive strategy, operations must work hard to ensure, they should have a strategy to ensure that they are producing goods and services of lower cost, so you can achieve your competitive strategy. So I want you to appreciate the fact that operations strategy supports competitive strategy, okay? And operations management is generally about how we can appropriately utilize given assets and processes. So what is a resource view? The organization is considered as a bundle of real assets, which are divided into tangibles and intangibles. The tangibles include people and capital assets, which actually do the work. The intangibles refer to the know-how, the technical know-how, the capabilities that the company has to do its work. And this could include superior relationship with suppliers and customers. It could include a particular intellectual property that gives you a competitive edge. It could include the reputation of the company and the brands that they sell. These are all parts of the intangibles. It's all part of the intangibles. And then the knowledge and experience in processing technology as well as the markets. 4 key questions to determine the resource strategy. So in determining a resource strategy, we need to ask these 4 key questions. How many resources should we invest in? And that is referred to as capacity sizing, which we'll look at in as we move along with our lectures. When should we increase or reduce our resources? At a point in time, you may have to reduce your resources. At a point in time, you may have to increase your resources. So capacity timing. Then what kinds of resources are best? Here we are referring to capacity time. Whether we need more human capital or human resource or capital resource, or what level of automation do we need? These are all questions that goes into resource strategy. And again, finally, where should resources be located? Where should we put our facility? Where should we place our facility? All these decisions go into developing a strategy for resource. Then the process view of operations. Processes are structured, recurrent activities that transform input. We saw this in the model we came across last week. So within the transformation stage, we have processes in there that transforms or converts the input resources into output. So processes are structured, recurrent activities that transform input to output. Processes usually have specific precedence relationships. What do you understand by precedence relationships? What do you understand by precedence relationships? Anybody?
Can I try?
Yes, go ahead, Francis.
This is Na. So it's when an activity needs to be done before another activity can commence.
Yes. That's the Francis. Do you want to add something to this? Francois Mitterrand, do you want to add something to this?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. You see, if we go to a hair salon, I keep using hair salon because our women are familiar. And for us, the men, we take our girlfriends there to go and do their hair, so we know. Or we take our wives there to go and do their hair, so we know. When you go to a hair salon, you may see 3 workstations. Now, the first workstation will be washing of the hair. The second workstation will be drying of the hair. And then the third workstation will be the styling of the hair. These 3 workstations. This is the work arrangement, the workflow. So you can't just go and start from stage 3, which is the styling. You have to start from process A of stage 1 through to process 3. There is a precedence relationship. Stage 2 or process 2 depends on process A or process 1. And stage 3 or process C depends on stage 2 or process B or 2. So that is the precedence relationship. Which activities must come before which activity? Okay, so processes usually have specific precedence relationships among the activities. 4 key questions to determine process strategy are: 1, which activities do we perform internally? So in terms of designing our process strategy, we want to know which activities we want to perform in-house within the company, and which activities do we want to outsource, and how do we manage our suppliers? These are very key questions you need to ask. These days, a lot of companies are outsourcing their IT management, IT systems management. So getting companies to manage it for them. Others feel the risk is so huge, and therefore they manage it themselves. But the majority It's managed by a third-party organizations which have the capacity to do so. Then which technologies do our processes need? Will involve coordination and information technology, how we coordinate, communicate, and plan execution throughout the activity network. We can also look at the product technology, what design philosophy, what product architecture, and all that. All this goes into the process view of operations or in designing the process strategy. Okay. Okay, so same here. Then we come to the last one and the operation strategy, the competency view of operations. So the concepts of values characterize the competencies of the organization. Values are a third factor after resource and processes that affect what an operations or an organization can and cannot do. Values are the standards by which employees set priorities. Values. You as individual people will have your own values. It is because of your value or the values you profess. That is why you will not accept proposal from just any gentleman. You have a certain level of respect, expectation from yourself. And those are the values you project. Organizations will also have those values. For some organizations, speed is an important value. So they make sure that employees are trained with speed. They do things in a speedy manner without making mistakes. Okay? And so in relation to values, we can say, for example, that we judge whether an order or a customer is attractive or not. Okay? We judge whether a suggestion to improve a product or process is attractive or marginal. We judge whether an investment is worth making or not. Somebody tells you, oh, go and invest in this company. At the end of the month, you are likely to get 2%. Somebody looks at that 2% and says, you look at 2% and you call it money. When I can do simple things like that, I can get about 25% turnover on my investments. You see? This depends on our individual values. For somebody, the 2% is a huge amount of money. He respects it, he appreciates it. For others, no. So all that goes into what we are seeing here. And every organization will have its values. Some organizations, when you are late, it's a big issue. In other organizations, you can even choose to be absent for 3 days. And nobody cares. Great man, I made you. Am I the only one experiencing hitches? No. Oh. Are you guys not hearing me?
No,
I can hear you.
Yes, you may.
Okay. Let's do what we can and then we can. So in terms of the competency view of operations, 4 key questions to ask to determine our competency strategy. What is the total cost of operating? Are we going to have more fixed costs than variable costs, or are we going to have more variable costs than fixed costs? So are we going to have more labor than machines, or we are going to have more machines than labor? That makes it will be part of the competency strategy. What is the total response or lead time? How responsive do we want to become? If customer raises an issue, how quickly do we want to address those issues? What is the ability to deliver quality output? What capacities are we building as an organization, as a company, to deliver the quality expectation in terms of our output to our customers? And what is the operations flexibility to change inputs? You know, these days, customers are like women. Every now and then, they want to see new things. All apologies are women, but sanity, that's how it is. Every now and then they want to see new things. Oh, come on, baby. We've been eating here for God knows ages. Let's change. Let's try some Indian cuisine from Kempinski. After how much does it cost? Yeah. So bringing that same thinking or thoughts to operations competency, what is the operations flexibility? In fact, flexibility has become an important capability that the companies are building to enable them rapidly adapt to changing customer demand. If you don't have this capability, the way the market is constantly changing, you may be flushed out of the market. Flexibility capability is quite important. And you may want to have activity flexibility, volume flexibility, output flexibility. Output flexibility is that you have the chance to vary your output. If you have to produce 100, you'll produce. If you have to produce 10 million, you'll produce. If you have to produce just one type of output, you can. If you have to produce maybe 10 different types of output, you can also do that, depending on what the market is asking for. Then in terms of volumes, you can produce 100, 200, 3,000 in that order. Okay. So the appropriateness of a strategy can be defined in terms of the fit match, alignment of organizational structure and resources for the environments, environmental opportunities and trends. I'm sure you've done something on strategic management, so you are familiar with this terminology, SWOT. Have you come across this?
Yes, please.
So the S stands for what? S stands for what?
Strength.
Strength. W stands for?
Weakness.
W stands for what?
Weakness.
Weakness.
Opportunities.
Opportunities. And T stands for threats. Yes. We can have
opportunities.
We can have S to O strategies. S to O strategy is a strategy that's exploit what strengths you have. That depends, that utilizes the strength that the company has to exploit opportunities from the market. There are about 4 of them, but anyway, that's not the focus of this area. So let's move on. Now, the principle of alignment or strategic fit is at the foundation of our operations strategy. There has to be that alignment. Whatever competency, whatever resources you have, or whatever processes you have, it should be in alignment with what is happening in the environment. It should be able to exploit opportunities and reduce threats from the environment. And so that brings us to that strategy, operation strategy framework, which we'll shortly look at. So this principle states that operation strategy should develop resources and configure processes such that the resulting competencies are aligned with competitive position that a firm seeks over time. So this is that framework. I think I'll leave you to read this one on your own. Basically, I've provided you with all the explanation already. Let's look at designing goods and services. We'll do a few slides on this. We've done 2 hours. Per hour agreement. Do you want to have a short break now? About 5 minutes break and we continue? Or we should rather continue and finish up? 5 minutes less.
Yes, 5 minutes.
You need that 5 minutes break. Or I should continue and finish 5 minutes less.
Yes, please, let's continue.
Let's have the 5 minutes break.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll continue. Designing goods and services. All the services we see around us, all the goods we see around us, they start from design. They are designed. They are designed. So, introduction. New products and services are the lifeblood of an organization. If you are an organization, you are able to introduce new products frequently. You grow quicker, you grow faster, you grow bigger. That's why we are saying here that new products and services, they are the lifeblood. They keep the company active. They keep the company surviving. See, the following are the reasons why product and service design is critical. Why must we design a product before we produce it? Why must product, the women, if you agree with me, this is something you do unconsciously, particularly the married ones. Before you go to the kitchen and cook for the family, you design the food in your head. Hey, this is what are we eating? And just when that question comes, the mind creates a design of a food in your mind. Even though that design is not put in paper, it's not put on paper or computer, as we usually see in industry. Because when you go to industry, the laptops, the phones, the cars, you drive, all of them, somebody will have to sit down and design the product before they are taken to the shop floor for production. In the kitchen, that design, the conceptualization of the products, the product idea all emanates from the mind. So as you go to the kitchen and then you start the food preparation, you see that even the saucepan you will pick is influenced by the design you have in your mind. Priscilla, do you agree with me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So why do organizations have to design products and services? Why is product and services design critical? One, it provides a competitive edge for the company. If you design a product, you are able to take customers' requirements into consideration. You are able to you are able to provide for the expectations of the company, of the customers, and that gives you a competitive edge. New products or services can rejuvenate an organization. A company may be dying, and then they are lucky to introduce a new product, and that new product will then rejuvenate, bring the company back to life. Bring the company back to life. New products or services define new markets. I think that is self-explanatory. New products or services inspire new technologies. And provides a natural avenue for learning, breaking down barriers, and integrating across functional areas. Design capitalizes on organizations' core competencies. When you are designing, you design based on your core competencies. I don't think Priscilla will design a food type for the family that she cannot prepare. Priscilla, would that ever happen?
It can. Yes, it can.
It can. Then yes, you'll be wasting your husband's money. You design a food type in your mind, you go to the kitchen, and then you are cooking a food that you don't have any competency in.
You must try sometimes.
Yes. You must try sometimes. But the emphasis here is that usually when you design the food type in your mind to go to the kitchen and cook, you look at what you are capable of cooking. You look at your core competencies. You look at the resources you have, and that also influences the design you create, okay? So design capitalizes on organizations' core competencies. Also determines what new competencies need. Okay, So I think that this bullet reflects the point that you made, Priscilla. So when you are creating a new design that you think you don't have the competency in, yes, you will have to build that competency. So you can conceptualize a food type, maybe potato palaver sauce. That will look very good for the family. But how do we cook it? You might decide, okay, you don't have that competency. So you go for short training on YouTube. You type it in and I see somebody cooking potato palaver sauce. You build that competency and then use it to turn that design into a new product, So benefits of effective design. If organizations have new products they design, have that capacity to design new product, what benefits there are for them? So like we said earlier, new products rejuvenate an organization and even an industry. And we can cite 4-stars, we can cite GM's, Saturn, we can cite Chrysler's minivan, which all saved the automobile industry. Then design encourages organizations to look beyond their borders. If you are constantly designing to create new products, it forces you to look beyond, like this man said to Sir John, that he should go beyond his horizon. That desire to build new designs will force companies to look beyond their borders, their boundaries. So it means it forces companies to think outside the box. Design encourages organizations to bring in new ideas. That is self-explanatory. And design encourages organizations to challenge conventional thinking. This is the way it has always been. This is the way traditionally we have known it to be. Can we do something beyond what we have already known or what we already know? Here, we are going beyond the conventional thinking. Okay? Then again, design encourages organizations to experiment. And experimenting enables the firm to build some competencies. So the quality of a product depends to a great extent on its design. True or false?
True, Doc.
True, because quality is actually designed into the product. Quality is about the extent to which the product fulfills the customer expectation. And this has to be designed into the product. So the quality of a product depends to a large extent on its design. Now, design types that adversely affect quality are: 1, poor design. Why do you think poor designs affect quality? Why do poor designs affect quality? Oh, anybody? Hey.
Sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
I just go back in. Please hold on. Yes.
My question is,
poor design.
Poor design. Why does it affect quality?
No, please, if the product is not well designed,
can I try, sir?
Wouldn't be good. It will be poor.
If a product is not well designed, it wouldn't match the needs, the expectations of the customer, correct?
Yeah.
A lady wanted to say something. Is it Nade?
Yes, please. I was going to say, you've just said it. Once we don't have a good design, we are unable to tell what material we need to use and all those other things. So it affects the quality.
Yes. Remember, you just imagine going for a haircut. Now, even if you're handsome, that design alone changes your quality. You see? If we are building a laptop, we are designing a laptop, we are designing a phone, and we poorly design it, it is going to affect the functionality of the laptop or the phone, which will lead to a poor quality product that people will not patronize. Another thing that also adversely affects quality is costly design. When the design is so costly, so expensive, it will also affect quality because people will not be able to afford it. Quality is also relative to affordability. We'll look at quality, I think, in the next week or so you understand that better. So costly designs also affect quality. And then lengthy designs, they also have problems. It is taking you about 4 or 5 years to design a single product. By the time the design comes up, other companies might have come up with, I mean, something trendy. I hope you get what I mean. You see, and whatever you have taken years to design may not be what customers are expecting because there are most current designs on the market. So these three said, would you then advocate that manufacturers, service organizations should hurry in their design? The answer is no. They don't have to hurry in their design because if they hurry in their design, what it means is that they will rush the product to the market. And rushing the product to the market could also lead to design flaws, which may be fatal. It could also result in product poor performance. So there is no need for organizations to hurry their designs, okay? Or rush it. So what are the characteristics of an effective design process? An effective design process matches product or service characteristics with customer requirement. Very, very emphatic, critical. The design will match product service characteristics. In other words, product service features, attributes with customer requirements. Ensure that customer requirements are met in the simplest and least costly manner. It will also try to reduce the time required to design the new product or service. Usually, lengthy design period is not encouraged because by the time the product comes to the market, it's already outdated. And again, an effective design process will minimize the revision necessary to make the design workable. Sometimes you do, particularly those of you who have put up your own house, some people are quite funny. The architect designs the house. He goes, no, move this one. I don't want the guest room to be close to my wife's room because sometimes some guests can be silly. Christian, your hand is up.
Yes, Doc.
Christian Sapo.
Yes, Doc. My hand is up. Doc, please, yeah. I want to ask a question concerning should the design be done in a hurry? Doc, okay. You know, we are dealing with competitive markets where people are always coming up with new design. Today you find design, tomorrow you see that somebody is using it. So should we always, or should organization always has to, take their time and come out with a design?
You see, that is what we have said. If you take your time, if you take too much time, then you are going to delay your design. So that's what we saw from the previous slide. Lengthy design time affects product quality. This one. Yes, so we shouldn't delay. but we shouldn't also hurry it. We shouldn't also rush it. Okay?
All right, thank you, Doc.
Yeah. It should be in tune with the changes coming from the environment. Okay. So what are the design process? Two participants raise their hand. Okay, who and who are these? I have Theo, your hand is up. Theophilus.
Yes, sir. Sir, on the delay, I'm linking it to a production house, a media house. Everyone is in a hurry to break the news. So little or no research or confirmation is done before news are broke. In this case, do you follow the trend because you still want to trend, or you delay for you to come out with the best? I'm saying this because I want to say it will be relative, as in when one decides to bring a product out. That's my point of view, sir.
Okay, so I think that word is creating confusion. You can be quick, but don't rush it.
Yes, sir.
Say a media house, you've heard of the news. You want to be the first media house to break it. If you don't take care, out of that hurry, you not do some checks. And then you go and break the news, which will eventually turn out to be false. Then you are forced to come and apologize to some individuals. You see? Oh, somebody tells you, somebody says, what's up? An ex-president is dead. And then you've seen that WhatsApp platform on a highly political platform. So you go ahead and break, ex-president, so is dead. At least it would be good to call a few family members to check whether indeed that story is true. But you go break the news, oh, you are the first to break the news, and so what? So the key message here is that if we rush our designs, it could lead to mistakes that can be fatal. So we should not rush our design, but we should also not take too much of time to do it, because by the time the design comes out, it's already out of date. It's already out of date. Okay, so these are the processes, the stages in the design process. We follow these steps: idea generation, feasibility study, preliminary design. Then we come to form design, we come to functional design, we come to product design, then we come to the final design. We are going to pick all of them and treat it one after the other. What is idea generation, Theophilus? What is idea generation, Theophilus?
It's usually the creating stage, the foundation stage, where the main product is birth.
So every product will come with an idea. We'll start from somebody generating the idea. Currently, if we want to make babies, we have to plant the seed in the womb of women. That traditionally, that has been the process. But can't we bring up a machine where I can tell my wife, looking at your body, when I'm sardine, I don't want you to go through this stress. Let's go to the hospital. They take my sperm, they take your egg, drop it in that glass. Every week, we go and look at our baby in a glass. After 9 months, we go and take our baby from the hospital. Can't we have this? So that becomes an idea, a product idea. And from that point, the process will go on. So let's pick them one after the other and see what. So idea generation, this begins with understanding the customer and identifying customer needs. What do customers want? What are customers asking for? That currently we don't have such products. And as they begin to ask, and you know, retailers, they depend on this a lot, especially the corner shops in the communities where we live. Oh, I know, baby, sir. I think, but I won't tell. Madam, please, don't you sell sellotape? Then you have an idea that you have to, if you don't sell sellotapes, you have an idea that you need to include sellotapes as part of your stock. Somebody comes and asks, Madam, please, don't you sell office pins? You have an idea that you have. So in the same way, the concept also applies to manufacturing and service. But what are the sources of ideas for new products or improving existing products? One, companies' own R&D department. Most manufacturing companies. I have never seen or heard of a service organization. Those of you who are employed, you can tell me, is anybody working with a service organization that has a R&D department? The R&D stands for research and development. Research and development. And their responsibility is to research and come up with new product ideas that the company can pick it up and produce. So companies' own R&D department can be a source of idea through their research. Then customer complaints and suggestions. Customers can, oh, this product, we expected it to do this, to have this functionality, it is not there. Products of this nature should be able to do this, and they can't do it. So those complaints and suggestions can lead to companies developing a new product idea. Again, market research can also explain what customers are looking for. Suppliers themselves can also give you a product idea that, oh, we now have this equipment that can be used to do this. And it's, oh, then I'm going to do a milkshake. If there's a product that can turn milk powder into so and so, I can produce milkshake for my students. So suppliers can also be of good idea. Salespersons, they walk into our offices every now and then. They can also bring product ideas. Factory workers can also bring new product ideas, okay? And new technological developments. New technological developments. So new technologies that are being produced currently can force us to think and see how we can, for example, preserve our cassava, our plantain for months without going waste. Without going waste. Competitors. The companies we are competing with can also be a source of new ideas, new product ideas. But how do competitors provide us with new ideas? One of them is perceptual map. Let's take a look at this perceptual map here. So what is a perceptual map? It is a visual method of comparing customer perception of different products and services. So here we are comparing different cereals or breakfasts in terms of taste and nutrition. So Rice Krispies, those of you who have tasted Rice Krispies before, the taste is not too good. And again, nutrition is quite low. Rice Krispies. So low in nutrition, also has bad taste. What about Cheerios? Nutrition is high, but taste is also a bit of a challenge. If you have, but the taste is better as compared to if you look at it on the store here, taste quite better comparing to Rice Krispies and Wheaties and shredded wheat. If you look at shredded wheat, I mean, in fact, it is true. Shredded wheat doesn't have any taste at all. In fact, the taste is bad. You only get the taste of the milk you are using for shredded wheat. But it's of high nutrition because of the fiber and stuff in it. If you pick Cocoa Puffs, it's low in nutrition, but the taste is high. So we want to get a new product idea for a new breakfast item. And then we sample customers' view on these products that are available on the market. And from our perceptual map, we can see that this quadrant is empty. And customers may be looking for products in this quadrant. So cereals or breakfast that will have good taste as well as high nutrition. And that can push us to think, so how do we even make the cereals have good taste and also of high nutrition? Maybe we can add more fruits, different types of fruit, dried fruit, add it to the cereals and add some vitamins A, B, C to 8. What can we do? So perceptual map will lead a company to get a new product idea. What about benchmarking? Benchmarking, we take the best company in the industry and we match our processes against theirs. We match our products against theirs. And we see where we are not doing something right, so we can learn from the best in industry. Please, if you are doing benchmarking, don't benchmark yourself against a company you are better off or you are better than. That will not constitute benchmarking. So always pick the best in industry. And in fact, it doesn't have to be in the same industry. Maybe in the construction industry, a company may be in the say service industry, but they are doing something extraordinary and they are doing well, extremely well. So we can pick their process and see what is it that we are doing, what is it that they are doing that we are not doing. And from that, we can learn so we can improve what we are doing to catch up with best in industry. Then we have reverse engineering. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with reverse engineering. China has gotten to where it is now because of reverse engineering. They pick the product from Europe, dismantle it, and then they try to understand and see how to improve on the weaknesses of that product. And here I'm citing an example of Ford Taurus. That model, that Ford model, when they designed it, they took 400 features. They studied 400 features of other automobile manufacturers, their products. And from there, they improved on 300 of those features in their own vehicle, which is the Ford Taurus. For example, if you are talking about petrol gauge in the automobile industry, which is so accurate, it's Toyota's petrol gauge. It's Toyota's petrol gauge. And so Ford had to copy Toyota's petrol gauge system and even improve it in the Ford Taurus. And then they picked BMW's tire and jack storage. So if you look at the Ford Taurus, the tire and jack storage in Ford Taurus is similar to that of BMW, you see? And that is what we call reverse engineering, picking a competitor's product, dismantling it to understand it so you can improve it in your own product. So that is on idea generation. We've looked at sources of ideas, which can be within the company, among customers, suppliers, and all that. Then we come to competitors through perceptual maps, benchmarking, and reverse engineering. Then we come to feasibility study, the second stage in the process here. This is the second stage, feasibility study. So what is a feasibility study? Marketing will formulate alternative product and service concepts from the first stage. When we conceive the idea, that's what marketing will do. What feasibility study would enable the organization to know whether the product idea is feasible. Not all product ideas are feasible. Some of you, when you come to class for the first time, or you focus on to find a girlfriend. Sometimes you may identify somebody beautiful and say, hey, this lady meets my taste. But visibility study will tell you that that lady is already gone. So that idea you conceived is non-starter. You have to drop it and look for an alternative. The same way, beautiful ideas will crop up. Through the feasibility study, we may establish that those ideas are not workable, and then we have to drop it down. But how do we assess the workability or the feasibility of the product idea? So when they formulate, the promising ones will undergo these 3 stages. Market analysis. Now, it is only when the product passes the market analysis that the next analysis will come on, economic analysis. Again, it is only when the product passes, the idea passes the economic analysis stage that it moves on to the technical strategic analysis stage. So for example, if we do the market analysis and we find that demand for that product is non-existent or is too limited to make economic sense, then we'll not even go ahead and do the market analysis and technical analysis at all. Let's have a look here. So what is a market analysis? We assess whether enough market exists for the product. Now, market researchers will design customer surveys, interviews, focus group discussion. Now, let me tell you this. University of Ghana, before we introduce any program onto the market, we conduct a survey. And the survey is conducted on potential students as well as industry organizations. We find out from organizations whether they need people with expertise in this area. We find out from individuals whether they will be interested in pursuing a program like this. And when the analysis shows that the potential exists, we'll carry the product forward. Recently in my department, OMI's department, Operations and Management Information Systems Department, we've done that. There is a new product idea we conceived, business analytics. We conducted a survey and it seems like there is huge market for the product. So very soon, we are going to introduce an undergraduate program in business analytics. There is also, what is the name? A postgraduate program in business analytics coming up pretty soon because the market says, yes, demand exists. Okay? Now, data are collected and then evaluated to assess whether there is enough demand for the proposed product to invest in and blah, blah, blah. If the results are positive, then the next analysis is undertaken. Take note, if the results are positive, positive meaning that demand actually exists, then we move to the next stage. We move to the next stage being the economic analysis stage. Economic analysis, we want to know whether development costs, production costs can match up with the expected sales volume. So even though demand exists, the demand may not be enough to sustain production. So you don't start producing just because demand exists. What is the cost of production? What is the estimated cost of production in developing the product? Compare that to the estimated sales volume. What is the results? So that's what we do in the economic analysis. So we then compare these estimates to sales volumes. Looking at price range, market segment we are going to look at. We also estimate the risk involved in the production. And we look at, we do cost benefit analysis. We can also do assess the net present value, internal rate of return, which can all be used to determine the profit potential of the product. All this can be used to determine, these 3 here can be used to determine the profit potential of the product before we move on to the next stage. So we proceed to the next stage, which is the technical strategic analysis stage, if results is positive or favorable. Now, at the technical strategic analysis stage, we look at, we try to find answers to questions related to competencies, such as, does a new product require new technology? And if it requires new technology, do we have access to that new technology? Can we afford that new technology? Is the risk of capital investment excessive? Would it require that we put all our money, our little savings, to go and buy that technology to start production? And obviously that will tell you whether you should go ahead or not. Does the company have enough labor and management skills to support required technology? If yes, we carry on. If no, we pause. And so these are critical questions you need to ask at the technical strategic analysis stage. Okay? When the product goes through that stage, then we move on to performance specification. Performance specification is where we design the specifics of the product, the specific features, attributes that will require the product. We require from the product. And this will depend on the functionalities we want the product out there to go and perform. So at the end of the feasibility study, a performance specification, what the product should do to satisfy the customer, is then prepared for the product concept that passed the study. These describe what the product should do to satisfy the needs of the customer. So we come to the next stage in the process, which is the preliminary design. And here, design engineers take the performance specification and translate them into what we call the technical specifications. Now, translating the performance specifications into technical specifications will involve building prototype, testing the prototype, revising the design, and retesting. You carry this thing on until we get it right, until a viable design is determined. These days, companies are moving away from what we call sequential design to concurrent design. What is concurrent design? Concurrent design is a new approach to design that involves the simultaneous design of products and processes by design teams. And the process for concurrent design is usually iterative, and it involves form, functional design, as well as production design. I'll explain this in the next slide. But note that I have said that there are two types of design: sequential design and concurrent design. Organizations, service, manufacturing are now moving away from sequential to concurrent, because the concurrent is faster, it's cheaper, it's more beneficial. So what is the concurrent? Let's see the diagram here. So see, this is the sequential. Somebody would want to go and understand the customers, product concepts. Marketing personnel will usually do that. Try to speak to customers, understand their needs. Then the designer, from the information received from the marketer, will then try to design the product to fit what the prescription the marketer is giving. Then manufacturing engineer will try to convert the design which has been produced, translate that into product features, yeah? And then the manufacturer will turn that into a final product. This is the sequential design. This is what we call the sequential design. Now, this is the concurrent design. All relevant stakeholders, it could be suppliers, it could be customers, we all sit around the table and then we talk things out. This way it is faster. Here, if something is not right, we may have to go back to the customer to try and find out whether if this feature is not there and that feature is there, whether they would accept it. But if it's concurrent, the customer is sitting down around the table. So the customer can say, tell us the expectations as we move the design forward. And that is why a lot of companies are moving away from this type of design to the concurrent design types. The concurrent will break down the walls. You can see that the walls are broken. Relevant stakeholders stick together. I think I provided a definition somewhere, but you can look for the definition online too, or from a textbook. Okay, how many minutes do I have? Just about 8 minutes. So what is a form design then? Form design refers to the physical appearance of the product. The physical appearance of the product. And here we are talking about design of the product in relation to what shape it will take, what color it will take, what size, what style it will take. That form falls under form design. Then we'll talk about functional design. Functional design here is mainly concerned with how the product performs. It seeks to meet the performance specification of fitness for use by the customer. And in trying to establish functional design, just like the name suggests, functional. So it deals with the functionality of the product or of the design. Okay? So 3 characteristics that are considered here is the reliability. No matter what function a product is designed to do, as customers, you and I as customers would want a product that is highly reliable. I don't want a product that will be available for use today. Tomorrow, if I want to use that product, the product is not available. It's broken down and I have to fix it before I can use it. I want a reliable product. I also want a product that can be maintained, maintainability. So I want a product that when it breaks down, I can easily fix it, repair it, and use it, maintainability. And I also want usability, product that is user-friendly. It's not too difficult to understand the product and use, usability. But these things come with some calculations, particularly with reliability. So let's have a look. So what is this reliability? It is the chance that a given product will perform its intended function for a specified length of time under normal conditions of usage. So you buy a Toyota car, you are given a warranty of 3 years or 100,000 kilometers. And usually that warranty is for you to use the car under normal conditions of usage. So the company will prescribe that after every 5,000 kilometers, you need to service the car, or every 3 months, you need to service the car. If you run the car for about 6 months or 7,000 kilometers, you don't service it, and something happens, you cannot claim that warranty. It nullifies it because that is not the normal conditions of usage. So reliability is about the fact that if the product is being used under normal conditions of usage, what expectations should we have? That is the reliability. A product reliability is a function of the reliabilities of its part components. Every product is made up of parts and components. So if a product is made up of 3 parts, A, B, C, the reliability of the product depends on the reliability of component A, component B, and component C. Because the moment component A breaks down, component B and C cannot function. And so the whole product cannot function. And that's why we are saying a product's reliability is a function of the reliabilities of its component parts. Now, a product's reliability can be determined via 2 arrangement components. And this can be serial arrangement or parallel arrangement. In the next slide, we see it. This is the serial arrangement. So R1 stands for reliability 1, or reliability of component 1, reliability of component 2, reliability of component 3. We have the serial arrangement when all parts and components in the product needs to function to enable the product to function. Please take note. It doesn't mean that in the product you see the parts arranged in a line. No. This is only to represent the idea that this serial arrangement simply refers to a situation when all parts and components in the product needs to function to enable the product to function. You pick some products and you see that not all the parts are required to function to enable the product to function. How many tires do you see in a car? How many tires do you see in a car?
4 plus and the spare 5.
So 5. Do we need all 5 to function before a car will move?
We need 4. Okay.
We need 4, which means that one of the tires is in a parallel arrangement. It's in support position. You see? But in some products, all the component parts needs to work before the product can function. So yes, this is the serial arrangement. In others, some parts may be supporting some parts, in which case we call them backups. So that if that part breaks down quickly, the backup part takes the role. Many of us, we have plants at home. Electricity company is there to provide us with electricity, but we still have plants. The plant is in a backup situation. So as soon as the electricity supply from Ghana electricity company, ECG, goes up, the backup steps in. Usually in manufactured product, for critical components, that when they break down, something fatal could happen, or the products will come to a halt. Within the products, they provide what we call a backup. So this is the arrangement for a backup. We don't need all the parts within the product to function for the product to work. In this case, we need 1, 2, 3. But when this one breaks down, this steps in for this. This is the backup or the power arrangement. So if we want to determine the reliability of a product with a serial arrangement, what is it? How do we calculate it? And this is the formula. For serial arrangement, the product reliability, which is R sub P, is equal to R1, reliability of component 1, multiplied by reliability of component 2, multiplied by all the reliabilities of the components in the product, up to reliability N. For products with parallel arrangements, RP is equal to 1 minus R1 times 1 minus R2 times up to 1 minus Rn, the number of components there are. Or we can also use R1 plus 1 minus R1 times R2. Kindly write this formula down quickly. We'll do this before we end the class today. I know it's almost time. Let's do this before we end the class. Write these two formulae down. Okay, you are done. Now, as the number of serial components increases, now let me not talk about this. I want you to make that observation yourself and tell me. So let's move on. Let's assume that in a product, there are 3 components, this one, and this one, without a backup. So in our hypothetical product, there are 3 components. Component A has a reliability of 0.95. Component B has a reliability of 0.96. Component C has a reliability of 0.97. What would be the reliability of that product? What would be the reliability of that product? You simply multiply, look at the formula you wrote down. So in a serial arrangement, reliability of the product is R1 times R2 times R3 up to the number of reliabilities you have. So I'm asking you that, let's assume that this is a product with a serial arrangement. There are only 3 components in the product, and these are the reliabilities. So let's determine the reliability of the product. Who has finished? Sorry, who has finished? Anybody with the answer? Oh,
0.886.
0.886. Okay, so it's going to be 0.885.
I have 0.
Hey, 885, 884, 886. Okay, so let's do the multiplication together. 0.95 multiplied by 0.96 multiplied by 0.97, 0.97. And that gives us
0.88464.
Well, that's 0.885.
So 0.8846. So we can say 0.885, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that will be the reliability of the product. But because this component is so critical to the whole product that if it fails, maybe the entire product will not function, we have given this a backup. And so from here, you understand, right? Your first answer, write it down. When we add a backup and then we determine the reliability of the entire product, you see that the reliability will change. And that tells you the value of backups, that they indeed helps. They indeed help. I mean, a practical scenario is assuming your car has only 4 tires without any spare. And then in the middle of the night coming from Asisawa, your car breaks down. You have to travel all the way to Accra to come and pick a tire. So backups actually increases the reliability of the product. Let's see whether if we include the backup, the answer will change. Okay? So this is how we calculate the backup. When you have the serial arrangement like this with a backup, you first of all need to break down the backup, the parallel arrangement into the series. Then you can calculate the series. And so if you can see, that's what I've done here. This is 0.95, that's the 0.95. Now we are breaking the backup into the series. Now, if you look at the formula says R1 plus 1 minus R1 times R2. Usually the one in the series is your R1. Oh, sorry. I jumped this, eh? Usually the one in the series is your original component, which is your R1, and the backup is your R2, which is, so it's 0.95, yeah? Then this box then becomes 0.96 plus into bracket 1 minus 0.96 times 0.92, this one. And if you do all that, you get 0.9968. And then we bring this one to here. I have taken my time to do this to give you the understanding, but when you are calculating, you don't need to do all this like that. Okay, all that I need to see is that if there is a parallel arrangement, you break down the parallel arrangement to fit into the serial arrangement, and then you calculate the reliability of the product or the system based on what we have just done. Okay? Remember the formula, we can also use 1 minus. And if you do this, you are going to, if you use the minor, if you use this formula here, or you use this one here, you get the same answer. So I tried using both. First, I use the R1, which is 0.96 plus into bracket 1 minus 0.96 times 0.92, which is the backup. So we solve that. You break this into a serial, and your reliability is going to be 0.95 times 0.9968 times 0.97. Do it and tell me the answer. That's what I've done here. Maybe I didn't get it right. Check and confirm my answer.
No, please, 0.9185, the same thing.
Okay, so it's the same as this. Now, in an examination situation, I mean, we are not just going to give you a serial arrangement. Serial arrangement for undergraduates, very simple. In your case, we may give you 2 backups or even 3 backups. So if you are, let's assume that this component here also has a backup. Just like we have solved this 2 like this, you do the same thing for this. And then the answer you will get, you multiply the reliabilities together to get the reliability of the system or the product. Okay. The final one for us to do today is this question. Mrs. Susanna Yabua, a production supervisor for Good Brothers Enterprise, is committed to the company's new quality effort. Part of the program encourages making product components in-house to ensure high quality levels and install worker pride. The system seems to be working well. One assembly, which requires a reliability of 0.96, remember it says one assembly, which requires a reliability of 0.96, is normally purchased from a local supplier. Now, it is being assembled in-house from 3 components that each boasts a reliability of 0.97. So there was a particular assembly, which is made up of 3 parts that they were originally buying from a supplier. And it requires assembly reliability of 0.96. They decide that instead of buying the assembly from a supplier, they themselves will go and buy the parts and do the assembly together in their own company, in-house. So the 3 parts they bought, each of them has a reliability of 0.97. Now, what is the issue? This is the issue. Customer complaints have risen in the last 3 months since Good Brothers started doing its own assembly work. Can you explain why? Can you explain why? What do we do here? Okay, Bismarck.
So I want to try. Please, can it be that their assembling is or their design is not good? Maybe they didn't meet the target of the.
Find the reason within the question and tell us. They said the assembly has a reliability of this. This is what the assembly requires. Now they are trying to make the assembly themselves from 3 components, and each of the components has a reliability of 0.97. And ever since they started doing their own assembly, customer complaints has started going up, which means that there could be problem with the reliability of the assembly, isn't it? Of the product.
Yes, please.
So let's find out the reliability of the assembly which is being made in-house. Can you find that out for me? It says it is 3 components and each of them has a reliability of 0.97. So can you find the reliability of the assembly? The new assembly being made in-house. Can you find it for me?
$0.912.
0.913
actually.
3. So can you now appreciate the reason why customer complaints have gone up? What is the reason?
Because the reliability is lower than that of the assembly when it's not in-house or when it's outsourced.
Exactly. This is the reliability which is required of that assembly. Now, when they started producing it in-house, with the component parts being having a reliability of 0.97 each, what it means is that we are going to multiply 0.97 by 0.97 by 0.97, and that gives us 0.91 something. Now look at this. Isn't it interesting that 3 components, look at how high their reliability is. 0.97. The maximum reliability should be 1. So 0.97. And you have 3 of this in an assembly. But putting the three together, what is the total reliability of the product? Is 0.91. That tells you that as we add more components into a product, the reliability of that product becomes what?
Smaller.
Reduces.
It reduces. It reduces. And that is why normally engineers will ask for simple designs with less components, because that makes the product more reliable. More reliable. Okay. Now the second question is, what level of component reliability is necessary to restore the product to its former level of quality? The former level is 0.96. 0.96. So what level of product reliability is necessary to restore? So the three components that the company is using, what should be the level of reliability for the three components so that the company can achieve the required reliability of 0.96? Because of time, I won't bother you with that, but the calculation is shown here. So you see the first question, this should be reliability, not liability. Required reliability of the assembly is 0.96. And reliability of the assembly line, which is being done in-house with three components with R equal to 0.97H. What it means, RP is equal to 0.97 times 0.97 times 0.97. That gives a total reliability for the product to be 0.91, which is obviously lower than the required reliability of 0.96. This is the reason why customer complaints have risen. Then the second question says, what level of product reliability is necessary to restore the product to its former level of quality, which is the 0.96. So given that RP is equal to 0.96, we need three components in the assembly. So let R1, R2, R3 be represented by X, which means that to determine the RP for each, it's going to be X times X times X. That means X raised to the power 3 or S cubed should be equal to 0.96. So if X raised to the power 3 or S cubed is equal to 0.96, what is X? So we take the cube root of 0.96, and that's what you see here. And that gives us an answer of 0.986. 0.986. So each of the components should have a reliability of 0.986 before they can get the required reliability of 0.96. Now, what you can do to confirm this answer is that multiply 0.986 by 0.986 by 0.986 and see what you get, whether we can get 0.96. Quickly. This is our last slide anyway. We are almost done.
So just 0.958, which if you estimate is 0.
Which will give you roughly 0.96, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Now the third question says, Mrs. Yabua cannot increase the reliability of the individual components. However, she can add a backup with a reliability of 0.91 to each component. So we want to know how many backups will be needed to achieve approximately a 0.96 reliability for the assembly. So here we try the options and see which option is going to give us the 0.96. So first of all, we try one backup. Remember, the reliability of the backup is 0.91. So the current reliability of the component part is 0.97. So we take the backup, we break it down into the series arrangement. So this is what we have, 0.97 multiplied by, this is how we are breaking the backup into the series arrangement. Multiplied by 0.97 plus 1 minus 0.97 times the backup, 0.91. So all this from here will give us 0.997. So we put that into the series arrangement. We multiply 0.97 by 0.997 by 0.97, and that gives us 0.94. 0.94 is nowhere close to 0.96. So obviously the company, Mrs. Shabwa, doesn't need just one backup. Let's try option 2. Let's give it 2 backups. So already we have calculated the backup, and because it's the same reliability of backup reliability of 0.91, and these figures are also the same, we just pick this for the other one. So the first one becomes 0.997 multiplied by 0.997 times the last component, which doesn't have a backup, 0.96, sorry, 97. And that gives us exactly 0.96. Let's try the third backup and see what answer we'll get. And so it's we know the breakdown of the backup already. The answer is this. So 0.997 times 0.997 times 0.997, which gives us 0.99. The question says, how many backups do we need to get to 0.996? So how many backups do we need, class?
2.
We need 2. We don't need 3. If we get 3, we are increasing our cost unnecessarily. We don't need that extra reliability. Okay, so we just need 2. We just need 2. How many of you have downloaded that book? How many of you have downloaded the book? Hey, you should download and work out too.
So we have one, but I don't know if it's the right one. It has something like a cupcake as a cover page.
Yes, I think that's the one. Okay. You go through product and design. We are doing product design, product and service design. Go to that page and go to the questions, and you see a lot of these web examples, and you also see questions on this that you can try your hands on. Please do work the examples. Do work the examples. I will let the TA do some examples with you as well in the tutorial session. Okay. We are done for today, but we couldn't work out this last one. Please solve it. Next week when we meet, I'd want to see your solution before I start the class. It's in the material I sent you. So go to slide 71, look at the third question, and then please solve it for me. Thank you. Any question up to this point? I've taken extra time, forgive me. That's the teaching. Thank you very much, class.